The next conversation that we are going to have is probably that everybody is talking about today. It is about leveraging AI for marketing and email marketing in general. And we have two very special guests. We have Isabella, who is founder of Marketing Pros, and she has been doing some amazing work in the field of AI. And she has been mentioned by several business news like Business Insider, and she has been doing a lot of amazing work. We have another guest, Alexander, who has been in this industry even before we have heard about the word AI. And Alexander is a technologist, a marketer, as well as an entrepreneur who has been doing some amazing work in AI. So, welcome to our show, Isabella and Alexander. Thanks a lot for your dedicating your time here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so I have given a very brief introduction about you two. I would like you to tell about yourself, what you are doing in the AI space that our audience needs to learn. Over to you, Isabella, first.
Oh, sure. So what I've been doing in the AI space, I've been really focused on finding use cases in marketing, specifically marketing and sales. So that looks like anything from creating a little bit more advanced prompts that can actually automate your processes, and all the way through like chatbots, for example.
That's amazing. And what about you, Alexander?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting us here too. Thank you, Raman. So I studied computer science, started working full-time in machine learning since 2008. I also built and sold 2 marketing agencies, specifically in the SEO field. And I'm also the co-founder and CTO at INK for All, where we have created a semantic optimization technology to make sure that content is relevant for intent and ranks up to 5 times higher in Google. Also, the creator of SEO.app. And there's a lot more innovation coming in the next few years.
Yeah, that I completely agree with you, Alexander. So, starting with you, Alexander, like you mentioned, there has been a lot of technology changes happening over there, but in the recent past, probably the speed of innovation has been really fast. So, what is happening today, and how does the future look like according to you?
Yeah, so it really requires us to hit a reset button a little bit on our brain and what we think about the internet. The internet is changing more in the next few years than it has in the last 20 years. And so the way we think about marketing, the way we think about content marketing, websites, everything is about to change in a really dramatic way. Spoiler alert, it's going to get a lot better for consumers, but it's going to really require us to adapt. And so to start with, you have had the browser wars. It started out with Netscape, and nowadays nobody talks about Netscape anymore. So it could start with ChatGPT, but 20 years from now, nobody may talk about it anymore. Who knows what's going to happen? But what is true, that after the browser wars, we're going to have the AI assistant wars. And those are really starting to heat up. Now, the AI assistant is an assistant that you're maybe familiar with: Siri, Google Assistant, Alexa, etc. But this time, it is doing all the work for you, browsing, compiling information, and perhaps doing dynamic server-side generation, generating a page for you that is perfect in intent and has all the sources and all the knowledge that you would possibly want to have. In such a future, you never really leave the Google search page. Right. And so what does that mean for content creation as brands? Well, I believe that in the next 3 years, 60% of clicks are going to disappear. And so you may wonder, what does that mean for my website? How do I get out there? Those are going to be replaced with interactions. Interactions how? Well, these AI assistants are going to want to interact with your brand. Let's say that you want to, let's say that you offer hotel rooms. Well, the AI assistant first and foremost needs to decide which brand it's going to talk to. It's going to inquire with your brand what rooms you have available, what rates you have, why they should book with you, what loyalty programs, etc. you have, right? And so it is up to your brand to interface with these AI assistants. Now, how is that going to happen? Well, it's already started. ChatGPT plugins is kind of like one version that we know. Alexa Skills is another one that we know. We know that Bing is bringing plugins to their future search engine. We know that plugins are also going to work in the AI assistant that's coming to Windows 11. We also know Google at Google I/O is bringing tools, their word for plugins, to Google search in the future. And so in a future where AI assistants are everywhere, you can access them by voice, you can access them in the browser as a search engine, you can access them even in the metaverse or in your home. In a future where AI assistants are everywhere, or personal needs, we can get much better search experiences coming. One of the really important thing for brands to know is that this is not going to just happen by AI assistants real-time scraping your website every single time a person has a question. This will have to be served up by you in the form of an API. And so this API is you can think of it as a website that's optimized for an AI to browse. So instead of just creating a website experience for humans, you're going to also create one that's optimized for AIs to interface with. And so in that way, you can then capture interactions so that the AI assistant will choose your brand as an authority with relevant content, links, purchase options, and so forth. And this is going to define the interactive web, Web 3.0, where we're heading to. And it has profound consequences for content marketers. One of the really exciting things for brands, though, is, because that may sound scary, but it's actually really exciting, is that you will have an opportunity to understand what your customers are interacting with and what their obstacles are, what content they're missing, and you're going to be able to create more personalized experiences. Think of having your best salesperson be able to give one-on-one attention to every single person that wants to interact with your brand. This is what this is going to unlock.
Yeah, that's a very interesting perspective about the future of internet, actually. And like you mentioned, the whole web will interact in a very different way. And probably so far we have been looking for SEO and search engine optimization. Now probably we'd also be hearing optimization for AI and GPT. Isabella, you have been a marketer and you have been using AI for marketing a lot. What is your perspective about the whole change in scenario now? What is your purview?
Yeah, that's really interesting. For what we're seeing in marketing right now, the first use cases that everyone kind of like jumped on was anything from like graphics and visual, content creation. It's helping a lot with like automation, and kind of what I'm seeing and the way that it's also affected me, it's been helping with a lot of like automations of all the routine tasks that you normally do, which allows more free space. And you might not notice how much of a difference it makes, but when you have a lot of your daily things automated, you have a lot more time to think and think more strategically. So the quality of your work is becoming so much higher and so much better, because all the busy work essentially is kind of, you're kind of just moving that out of the way quickly using AI tools like, ChatGPT, or depending on what it is that you're doing. So it's been helping a lot with automation, content creation, even like email marketing, like writing up email templates, anything that has to do, it's like generative AI, anything that has to do with like generating something, like whether it's SOPs and workflows or whatever the case is, it's helping not just marketing professionals, but professionals across the board.
Yeah, completely agree with that. Even at our company, we have started using AI in our day-to-day copy creation, image creation, etc. as well. So Alexander, you have been in this industry and you have been building products in the space of AI for years. And like you mentioned, there has been a lot of AI tools already, like Google Assistant, Netflix recommendations, etc. But what has changed in last 1 year? Like everything has exploded. What did ChatGPT do that such a massive transformation happened?
Yeah, so they were the first ones to really release some of this technology that some companies had already been working on behind the scenes, but were really afraid to release because Google saw this technology as a threat to its business model of selling a lot of ads. So don't rock the boat if you have something very profitable going on. But with the release of ChatGPT, they were kind of forced to be in the open, and Microsoft saw that opportunity to go and stick it to the market leader, right? So what you're really seeing with ChatGPT is the maturation of to transformer technology work around alignment and training at high scale. Gave rise to some emerging properties like reasoning that really impressed the world. What ChatGPT really was is in its initial launch was really just GPT Da Vinci that API users had been enjoying for a while, but in the format of a chat. And so by combining reinforcement learning with human feedback, so from chat interactions, they were able to really optimize that AI to give people great responses. Now, GPT-4 from this year is really a bit of a mirage. It is not really some supermodel. What it really is a mixture of experts, mixture of expert models. So, one is trained, for example, more on math. One is trained more on coding. One is more trained on language. And so they're using a mixture of models here. And so here we're getting into what's happening. We're starting to see that these AIs are capable of much more than just regular, generate some text for me. It is able to act like an agent or an expert. But what we're seeing is that it is not economical because these models get too large if one single model needs to know everything. And so that's key here. So the future of AI is basically the internet. Every website becomes an agent that is specialized in your brand, in your SaaS, in your service, and a mixture of model that eventually can span the entire internet and coordinate and orchestrate between all of these models. And all of this is really what the future of this, where we're heading.
That's a very interesting perspective that is going to transform the whole internet itself, and we'll be having AI agents to do all our work. So leading with that answer, Isabella, we keep hearing that AI will replace you if you don't learn how to use AI, right? And you have been using AI from a marketer's perspective, and you also mentioned that you use it to generate content of different sorts. So how do you think that marketers should adopt to this new technology? What should they learn? What should they start doing?
This is a really good question. What we're seeing is that, companies, actually just for knowing things like how to use ChatGPT, how to actually, it's called prompt engineering, right? How to actually talk to ChatGPT in a way that you get a quality response. We're seeing that companies are actually paying way more money than they would for a regular role. So earlier this year, there was an article that it just went viral. I think it was Anthropic, that they were paying someone, I think like $350 or like $375K for like their annual salary for knowing prompt engineering. And just recently, this also hit the news. It was like all over like TechCrunch and Business Insider and stuff like that. There was a couple of companies that they hired like a new chief product manager and a head of product design or something like that. And their salaries got up to $800K annual. And the reason why there was such a bump, it's because they know how to utilize AI tools. So right now it's becoming this thing where like, it's kind of, if you think about it, it's kind of like when people had to change from like the fax to email, or when they had to switch, from it's basically just a different technology that you're having to learn. And if you learn how to use it, and it doesn't have to be like super complicated, right? It can start by just being like your daily activities, whatever it is that you currently do. Just start thinking like, oh, what if AI could do this? What if there's a tool for this? What if ChatGPT could help with this? And you start automating certain parts of your day, then you start using AI more. And that's what companies are interested in right now. And again, it's for the reason that when you know how to use this type of technology, when you have this expertise, it allows you to do a lot more. Like you can be way more strategic, and you can also outwork anyone else because you're using artificial intelligence to help you be faster and more efficient and better. So that's essentially like one of the main things. If you're in a situation where you're looking for a new role, or you currently have a role and want to find a way to like earn a bonus or a pay raise, then this is something that you should be focusing on learning how to start integrating AI tools into your processes.
Skill yourself and to get more raise in your salary, you need to learn AI. So Isabella, like what should marketers and in general all workers should do to be better at using AI?
This is a good question. The first thing is like just start, like grab a piece of pen and paper and just write down all the things that you do. And then from there, just start kind of crossing out what are the easy ones that you can start testing with AI. For example, when I got really serious about using AI in my own workflows and stuff like that, it was something that, just as an example, I was working on a marketing campaign. It happened to be for a Taylor Swift ticket campaign. And something that would have taken me maybe like 2 weeks of my time to sit there and craft and write and, strategize the whole thing, I knocked it out with ChatGPT in like 2 or 3 hours. It was a session that I set the time aside, and I just used ChatGPT as a brainstorming buddy. Like, we just went back and forth, went through ideas, went through strategy, created the whole marketing plan, created the whole thing. It was done in like 2 hours or 3 hours. And this normally would have taken a couple of weeks going through all the steps, figuring out what would be the best thing. Then another example that happened was I had to build a virtual event for a client that I was working with. We had to put together a whole virtual event. Now this would have taken me at least, at very minimum, three weeks. Everything from slides, funnels, email marketing campaigns, SMS campaigns, the whole thing, we knocked it out in like 2 or 3 days, including like Instagram carousels, LinkedIn carousels. The whole thing was knocked out in like 2 or 3 days, and it was me, ChatGPT, and one more person. So normally this would have taken like probably a team of 5, and instead it just took 2 people and just 2 days dedicated work to this. Now it took this to have that aha moment of like, oh my gosh, this is so insane, this is so powerful. Imagine what else it could do if it helped me in other places. And that's when I started actually taking it like super seriously, because I realized firsthand how much of an impact it had. And also as a business owner, when you're able to do that with less people and like faster and better, it's also like your profit margins also increase, right? So it's all about becoming AI powered. And again, it's just finding out what things are you currently doing, and just go to ChatGPT. It's not going to explode if you ask it like, hey, can you help me with this? It's not going to, it's not going to burn down. So just start asking it. Treat it like a chatbot or like a coworker, and just start asking it questions. Can you help me with this? Do you know this? Are you familiar with this? What do you need from me to do that? And then ChatGPT will actually help you get the work done.
Yeah, Alexander, what is your take on this? Like how the whole new internet is going to change how marketers and other workers work, and how can they avoid replacement with AI? We can't. I think you're mute.
Great, thank you. So yeah, everything Isabella said is very true. AI makes you way more productive. I'll just add that one of my favorite ways to use AI is actually for emotional intelligence. Sometimes I just take the email that I'm about to write, and I just ask ChatGPT, does that come across as rude or something like that, and it gives me some suggestions on how to improve my style of communication. So I really love that. The content quality of ChatGPT from the audience is asking that. It's really how you prime it. So don't engage with ChatGPT in just like one question, one answer. Go and have a conversation with it. And if you do prime it as such, right, you call it priming, you have a conversation, you add more context, you add more feedback, then you really get better quality out of it. But really, what is happening? So as more and more people are waking up to the power of AI in their work, right, more people start producing more content in less time. And so what is happening is that the internet is getting flooded with a lot more content. So in the current version of search, there's only so many pages on the first page of Google, right? So if all of a sudden there's 10 times more content, 100 times more content, well, it stands to reason that the marketplace gets 100 times more competitive over time, right? So that is really the second thing to think about. So the first thing to think about is, are you using AI? Because if you're not, somebody else is going to outwork you 10x and you're going to fall behind. But if you do adopt AI in your workflow, eventually other people are going to catch up and the marketplace becomes a lot more competitive. And so let's think about that for a second. What does that mean for us marketers? Well, it means that you need to stand out. So I'm going to give you a rule of thumb here. If anything you say is generic enough that a generic AI could have written it, then why on earth would Google send a click away from their homepage where they can click on ads to go to your webpage? There's no reason. So what does that mean for you as content creators? It means that you need to add something to the conversation, add some of your expertise, add some of your firsthand knowledge, add some of your perspective, data that otherwise is not available on the internet in any other shape or form. That is the type of content that will still be valuable. So that can apply to SEO. It can apply to email marketing as well. Everybody will be fatigued in how full their inbox get with human-looking, emails. But the people that build relationships, trust, and engagement, and add something to the conversations, those are the brands that are going to end up surviving.
Thanks for the insight, Alexander. That's a very interesting perspective, that you need to add your own expertise and not just be dependent on AI to be stand out of the crowd. Isabella, one of the important things here is to write a very good prompt to get anything useful from AI, and you have been using AI in a way that marketers should be using. What are some of the techniques or some of your learnings about writing prompts that you would like to share with the audience?
Sure. Yes, writing good prompts is super important. It's about how much context and like precision you give it. Like, for example, if you say write 5 blog post titles, it's just gonna give you something generic. But if you start with what Alexander was saying, right, like priming it and also having your own domain expertise. Like if you know, for example, in cold email, I'll just use a quick example. In cold email, a lot of people and a lot of AI tools start by saying like, hey, first name, I hope this email finds you well, and then it goes into the email copy. Well, in cold email marketing, using the phrase I hope this finds you well is wasted space. Like, this is what everybody is sending and it's wasted real estate. That should be a hook. So because marketing, or like in this case, because I know that trick, I know that now my prompt is going to include something along the lines of like, do not say I hope this email finds you well, right? So that goes into like having the precision and the context, like what is it that you actually want to create, having that like end result in mind. And this is where domain expertise really comes into play, because you have something, you know how you do something manually, and now it's training ChatGPT or an AI tool to do it the same way that you would do it. So that goes into the prompt. Now, the typical prompt structure is usually, say, like the first few lines is like act as, and then call in whatever role or expertise you wanted to channel, essentially. Then the next part should be like kind of like the overview of the task that you're about to get into. Then you like list out the steps of the task. So you're being like specific, you know, you're saying like tone of voice or bullet points, like however you want it. Then you're putting your kind of like the rules or like the limitations, the constraints, like all the things you don't want it to do and you do want it to do. You include those as well. And finally, you end it by adding like the format. How do you want the output to be? And then you just recap the goal of the task. Like that is the most common prompt structure. And if you can follow that, you'll notice that your prompts are going now from like write 5 blog post titles to now act as an email marketer and write, you know, you give it a different task. And it's going to be a way different response because you're actually pulling in expert level advice from ChatGPT. So how you prompt it, there's that common saying that everybody's hearing, you know, garbage in, garbage out. How you prompt it is going to define how good of a quality output it can give you.
Yeah, that's a very interesting. That's a very interesting insight, actually. Traditionally, whenever we used to create an asset for the marketing team or any copy, there has always been a brand design guideline or brand copy guideline, content guideline, and with this, there needs to be a brand prompt guideline somewhere. There needs to be a checklist that marketers need to check or use to get better outputs from AI and ChatGPT. Do you have any such kind of framework or checklist, Isabella, that you use, and would you like to share with the audience?
Yeah, the checklist into when you're creating a prompt, right? So like that, what I just mentioned, that framework, that's kind of like the format, right? So it's like act as a role, the overview of the task, list out the actual steps that you wanted to take, any limitations, constraints, like, you know, the actual rules you wanted to follow, the formatting, and then the recap of the goal. So when you're able to write your prompt in this manner, then there's a couple of things that you have to like remember. Number one is, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what it creates. Always go back and proofread it and check for like authenticity, right? Check that it actually resonates with you. If it's creating something that's completely fictitious, then that's something that, of course, you're not going to copy and paste. And it shouldn't even have to be said, but I've seen it happen enough times where people just copy and paste it. Always, you know, stop and check for authenticity. Also, you want to check for like, you want to humanize it, because it's going to create this like very generic storyline, especially if you're not training it prior to it. You're not telling it like information about yourself. It's going to create like a generic or you know, a storyline that it created by itself. But if you start infusing like storytelling, like personal attributes into your copy or whatever it is that you're creating, it's going to be a lot more personalized and it's going to be more relatable. And that's what humans are after. Humans are after authenticity and relatability. And if you're able to hit that with content, it's going to perform well. So when it's generating content, just keep that in mind. A couple of things also to remember is that if you're using it to like generate content, courses, email copies, whatever it is, keep in mind that this is an amazing ideation tool, but ultimately your domain expertise, you still have to use your own rationale to kind of like, that's going to be what is the end decision, the final decision, right? Just because ChatGPT or any other AI tool says this is what it should be, that doesn't mean that that's the end all be all. Still use your own human intelligence, your own domain expertise to make those decisions and be able to, you know, use it a little bit more accurately. So the last thing that I would say is learn how to train it. If you learn how to train it, start it. Here's a underlying point though. When you're training it, just remember that there's still like privacy issues. So don't give it like any sensitive information. Don't give it any copywritten information or anything that, you know, is confidential. Just give it things that they would normally find, for example, on your website, or they would just find from following you online or whatever it is, because now you're able to give it more context so it can actually be more precise. So when it comes down to editing, it won't be like, maybe it won't be like, you know, 20% editing. Maybe now it'll be cut down to like 5 or 10% of editing time, and it'll be a little bit more strategic to you. So those are a couple of things. To recap, you know, the framework, authenticity, humanize it, your domain expertise, ideation, and training it.
Yeah, that is very insightful actually. And what I'm hearing from both of you is that AI can give you the first draft, but you have to add your expertise to make it useful for your users and valuable for your users. Then only it will rank in Google, it will be interactive, and people will engage through it. Alexander, you mentioned about AI agents, and it seems that it can do a lot of things. And in future, what we'll be seeing is replacing a lot of tasks and jobs. How do you think that it is going to impact email marketing? Like there's so many things in email marketing, right? From segmentation, targeting, copywriting, sending the actual email, etc. Can AI assist or replace all the work and make it much better and faster?
Today, it can replace and automate almost anything that is routine work, that is repetitive work. For example, I've got an email inbox that gets pitched maybe 70 times a day for my blog, which has over 1 million visitors a month at inkforall.com. And they ask, can I get a link? And I set up an email filter with like 50 words to scan for. And despite that, like I still get several dozen who slip through the cracks every day. And then I have to every morning, just talk about giant waste of human potential. Every morning, I have to spend a few minutes clicking every one of those emails and mark as read. I don't even open them because I already recognize it just from the subject headline, what it is. So the traditional way of just setting up rules, that can be replaced. You could have an AI agent monitor your inbox and say, hey, does this look like they're trying to pitch me something like a link or a blog post or something? And if the answer is yes, then ignore it, spam it, unsubscribe, whatever. Respond, try to sell them on your product, or just sell them a link. Here's a price page. So in the past, you have to use rules. In the future, you can use agents. On what you can do with email is you can. It's really around that personalization, that personalized touch. In the past, you would use like autoresponders with email templates, and you would try maybe 5 different templates. You might A/B test them out and see which one is better. What you can now do is you can pull in some information from the email that the person sent or from the context of your conversation they had so far, and you can merge that into your email templates to make it more personalized and dynamic. So AI has that capacity. But even so, everything I've mentioned, the current technology, what people refer to as AI, is really child's play compared to what AI is going to look like a year from now, 2 years from now. Remember when AlphaGo beat the world's best Go player, when AlphaStar beat the best StarCraft teams in the world, when AlphaFold strategized and figured out how proteins fold and saved humanity like 100 years worth of research, that kind of strategic thinking? Well, Google's Gemini is merging that kind of AI with reasoning and decision trees and being able to reflect on its answers and change its mind. It's bringing that and merging that with the AIs that you've come to be familiar with, like ChatGPT. What you get out of that is something entirely different than what you've seen so far. And marry that as an orchestrator to the entire internet with millions of websites offering different skill sets. Some are really good at image detection. Some are really good at email marketing. Some are really good at SEO. And you get an ecosystem with an orchestrator that really can automate a tremendous amount of work, right? So some of the innovation we're doing there already with enterprise companies is already in motion. I'm spearheading research around a platform called Smith that is building such automations. We're building agents like SEO.app that distill all of the competitive research around user intent into an interface that an AI model like ChatGPT can use. So it's in the plugin store. and it's free. You can go and use it. And so in terms of automation, what we think today we can automate is really only like 1% of what we'll be able to automate a year or two down the line. And this also aligns with the vision that Microsoft has for your Windows operating system, your workspace, the Google workspace, same story. It's really this idea of a co-pilot or digital co-worker that is specialized in any skill you can imagine. And just to summarize it, it's like Neo in the Matrix when he says, "I know Kung Fu."
To that extent, at Mailmodo, we are also working on a lot of new AI features that we are planning to bring for our email marketers. We have just launched subject line generator using AI. We are launching content generation using AI next week. And in a few weeks, we are going to launch a whole email content journey and automation generator, which will pick your products from your store, which will pick your audience and segment it and suggest you the right email to send to the right audience. And you just have to click on the send button. Before I go to the next question to Isabella, I would like our audience to ask your questions in the comment, because we are now nearing to the end of the session, and I already see a lot of questions in the comment box, but more questions the merrier. Isabella, apart from the content generation that can be used in the email or blogs or social media posts, etc., what could be other use cases that marketers can use AI for, to maybe better personalize or better segment the users, etc.? Can you give some examples?
Yeah, ChatGPT just launched this past week a new feature called Code Interpreter. So it's amazing because what it does is you can actually now upload files. Uploading files, like for example, it takes your data analysis to the next level, because it not only does it analyze for patterns, insights, and anything else that you're looking for, but it also helps you visualize it. So for example, the other day I uploaded a CSV file and it categorized all of my data in pie charts, right? ChatGPT did this inside of the interface. I didn't have to go anywhere else. So not only is it great for content creation, but it's also amazing for other things similar to that, or what Alexander was just saying, right? Like learning, creating these like agents or these chatbots essentially that can go and interact with people. So there's a ton of use cases, and you know, one of my favorites though definitely is data analysis, because it helps you improve and become better. Same thing, like I took, for example, my stats from my landing page, and I was like, here's my unique visitors, here's my opt-in rate, what can I do to improve? And then it just read my entire landing page and it provided feedback on what I could do to improve. So data analysis in that type of manner, it's super powerful, super amazing.
That's very interesting, Isabella. We would like to take some of the questions from our audience as well. They are eager to learn from you and ask questions. So here goes the first question, which Tarun has asked. Do you think entire email marketing can be done with AI? If not, what is something you feel can be done with AI? Feel can't be done with AI?
Yeah.
In
Yeah, I think email marketing can be done with AI, both the sending and the receiving, but it's still going back to what we were just saying a couple of minutes ago, you still have to make sure that you're humanizing it, editing. Like, it shouldn't be 100% AI, at least not yet, unless you have like a custom thing built. But for the most part, or for the general public, just make sure that you're actually humanizing it, editing, proofreading, testing different headlines and different subjects and different emails and stuff like that.
Interesting. Here is the second question. So Zishan is asking, let's say AI actually makes us productive, but then it is available for all and thus levels the playing field. So can AI provide any competitive edge to marketers? If it can, how should we get those brownie points? It's a very interesting question. Yeah, would any of you want to answer this?
You're the host, so I don't know. Feel free
So
to.
the question is, what can a marketer do to basically get extra brownie points? Because because everybody will have the same capabilities now.
Well, I wouldn't say everyone has the same capabilities. You have to go and look at the core of what you do. What is the core nugget of what you do? So many products, SaaS companies, etc. Right? You look at what you have to offer, and you realize it's a little bit of everything. You've got that feature because that competitor added it, and that feature because that competitor added it. At the end of the day, why are you unique? What's different about you? Where's your moat? Is it your data? Is it your unique process? Is it your knowledge? Is it your customer care? That special nugget, a special advantage, is going to be extremely obsessing about that. Because guess what? The orchestrator AI, the AI assistant, can pull from multiple companies that are each individually best at what they do and get a better result than what you can do if you try to focus on everything. So I'll just give an example. Let's say you use ChatGPT with plugins, right? Well, there's one plugin that can write a blog post. There's another one that can edit it. There's another one that can generate an image for it. There's another one that can post it to your WordPress. So if that's the future, why would you build a SaaS that does all of these features? Right? It makes no sense. Just do one thing and look deep inside of you what you're really, really good at. And the same thing is true if you're selling products. If you're selling products, really focus on why should they buy this specific product from you? What makes you really, really good on this product? Maybe it is your user-generated content. You have better reviews, you have better analysis, you have better data on that product. Maybe you have better service. So you have to look at the core of what it is that you're offering and really focus on becoming the best. The future is for trust and engagement.
Very interesting perspective, Alexander. People need to bring their expertise no matter what the playing field is. That is true even today, and it will be true probably tomorrow as well. Here we bring our next question. So Diego is asking, and this is for Isabella, chat learns a style from a storyline. I mean, if I have a storyline, I can expect it to learn my style, or should I train it with prompts?
Yeah. Basically, I have a whole prompt that I can send you after, Diego, but it's basically just like let's say that it's learning how you write, or learning about you and then learning how you write. So what you would do is you would pretty much train it. So it would be something like, in the next few prompts I'm going to share with you, like this is the actual prompt. In the next few prompts I'm going to share with you some of the content that I've written, and I want you to study it, learn it, memorize it, understand the writing styles, the tone of voice, etc. Right? And then you start inputting all of your content in different prompts, because you just said you're going to do it over the next few prompts. Oh, and then before you actually, I forgot one part. Before you actually start copy and pasting your content, make sure that you say, when I'm done, I'm going to say I'm done, so that you know that I finished, right? So now you just start giving it all of this content, and then at the end you can ask it to provide you with the writing style, the guidelines, the tone, all of the things that it just learned, and to write a prompt for you to be able to recall that in the future. Alternatively, what I like to do is, once I kind of like trained that thread, I just use that thread moving forward. So I have like a thread for like strictly carousel creation, and it's to the point where now I can go in, and because it's fully trained and it knows everything, all I type is another one, and it gives me the next content or the next carousel that I should write about. So it really is it's really, how you train it. And like I said, I can send you the prompts after, but yeah, it shouldn't be too complicated.
Yeah, that would be very helpful, Isabella. Actually, if our audience have want to reach out to any of you, can they reach out? And if yes, what would be the best way to connect with you?
So I'm on LinkedIn mainly, Isabella Bedoya on LinkedIn, and I think the username, I think it's Izzword, IZZWORD.
Amazing. What about you, Alexander?
Yeah, Alexander the Ritter on LinkedIn as well. Also Twitter at ADRIDDER, AD Ritter. That's my handle. You can find me there.
Yeah, so audience, you can reach out to both of them and feel free to ask them questions. And they are already sharing a lot of content over LinkedIn, and maybe you can use it to improve your marketing skills as well as your overall marketing processes as well. We'll bring the next question on the screen. So this question is from Marco for Isabella. Is the code interpreter only applies only for ChatGPT 4?
Yeah, it's the latest update. So, you just go to like your settings. It's like the three dots on the side of your screen on the left hand side, next to your name. You hit that, and then there's a thing called it says settings, and then once you're in settings, there's a part of the settings that says I think it's beta labs or beta, something like that. And then you click that one, and then it gives you access to all the beta features. So you have like they just removed it, but you used to have access to web browser, you have code interpreter, and you have access to plugins.
Amazing. We'll take one last question from the audience, and it is we are bringing on the screen. So this question is from Surya. Do you think to stop content marketers from rephrasing original content using ChatGPT and recreating fresh articles for SEO strategy, website will stop allowing users to copy and paste content? Uh, Alexander, you might take this question.
Thank you. Yeah, so plagiarism is not something brand new. It has been done for many years, and there's many instances of websites that use plagiarized content. And in some cases, they even outrank the original content on Google. Not nice. However, what is at the core of this? At the core of it, Google's algorithm does not really look at who was the original author. Maybe they should, but they don't really do that. Instead, what they do is they look at the domain authority for the topic. So let's say that I have a really good idea about heart surgery. Now, disclaimer: I know nothing about heart surgery. Okay, and I tweet it. Well, Google may not want to give it any reach because, hey, I said it, and I have no authority or no business talking about that topic. But let's say a world famous heart surgeon picks it up and plagiarizes my tweet or my piece of content, and all of a sudden it goes viral, right? Why does it go viral? Well, because now the same thing is said with authority. If you are really concerned about not being plagiarized or not being copied, then focus on being the world's #1 authority on the topic. Build your topical authority. If you're an author, build your author profile up so that you become the authority from that perspective. Now, are there tools out there that can detect AI-generated content? Yes, there are tools out there. INK4all.com can do it. There's other tools like Originality, which is the only thing they do that also do that, and a host of other tools. Now, what I can say is that a properly primed AI and using a combination of techniques and assuming continuous rate of AI improvement, I believe that AI-generated content eventually, if properly used, will be indistinguishable from really well-written human content. In many ways, the way that you can today detect that content was written by AI is that, for example, it doesn't really make spelling mistakes and it uses proper punctuation and so forth. So the lack of bad style, for example. So eventually, though, these AIs get better and better, and you shouldn't rely on that as the primary way to defend yourself. I think that there will be some technology content signing on the blockchain, for example, that will help alleviate that concern in the future. I also think that you should be focused today very much on building yourself as an authority instead of worrying too much about AI's capability to rephrase content.
Thanks, Alexander, for answering that question. And we are near towards the end of our conversation, and this has been very insightful for me as well as for the audience. And I thank you, both of you, on behalf of our team as well as the audience. We are living in an exciting time, and I believe that there will be a lot of new technology, and the way we work is going to change as well. Do any of you want to add any last comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much for bringing us all together in this whole event. All the speakers have been amazing. All the sessions have been amazing, so thank you. And like you said, if you do have any questions or anything, feel free to follow me on LinkedIn, and we can keep chatting.